This particular lesson is going to be about maintaining your portfolio. So we've built a portfolio. We have an idea of what we have in our portfolio. Maybe you have invested, say, 500 into 3 different ETFs. And every month you're putting in roughly 500 or 10% of your income into those funds. So the very first thing I'm going to mention is to keep your head. And to keep your head, I believe this is one of the main things you can do, is to really teach yourself to do less, do little, and less is more in this game. And just get this idea that your money is working for you in the background. Your job is to think about you, think about your health, think about your work, and your investments are going to be taking care of yourself. So really, I think too often now, especially with these new platforms coming out, they are almost like fruit machines. They're flashing in your face. And from the books I've read, one of the main things they keep saying is this is the opposite to what you should be doing. Remember, this is a long game. You are in this for the long game, not the short game. People who are in the short game, they usually make money and they lose money just as fast. So remember that you're taking it one step at a time, and you are not going to fall into the trap of wanting to get rich quick. If you can remember back to The Richest Man in Babylon, that was one of his lessons. This is a personal thing I thought was quite interesting. Be an iceberg. Be that person that people know that they have something. They have something hidden beneath some kind of investment, something interesting, mysterious. Be the mysterious guy and know that you have your backup when things get hard, and also you have something working for you in the background. You don't have to shout from the rooftops about it. It's your private little thing, little investment. So thinking of it, being an iceberg is just a nice way. How to maintain your portfolio: keep learning. Of course, this is the way. If you feel like you need to do something, you're not doing enough, then learning is always the key. I've never thought twice about spending 10, 20, 30 pounds on a book about investing, because you are essentially learning so much. It's going to be worth it. The loss is going to be small in comparison to the losing the opportunity. And I never regret having the pile of books I do. Next up is block out the noise. Of course, you're going to be in the office. Someone's going to talk about this and that stock, next big thing. The cliche is that by the time they know about it, by the time the person who's shining your shoes is telling you what stock to buy, you know it's time to sell that stock. And I realize that everything that is said, once it's said, it's almost like the next day the opposite is going to happen. So stocks are nosediving, then that is exactly the time maybe you should buy. Oil price is going to dip. The next day you find out it's gone up. So sometimes it's the opposite direction you need to look in. And it's easier said than done. It's something I think you'll get used to, but just this is all about owning your own strategy and understanding and believing in what you're doing. It's not about ignoring advice totally. I mean, you need to sort of take advice and put it all together. But by the time general public are talking about it, it is too late. It's already happened. And you've always got to remember with stocks and shares, there is a big engine room happening before we even get to play this game. And the decision's already made. And we are almost at the end, and we're getting the dregs, as it were. So be very careful about eating up the news, and definitely block out the noise, go in your own direction. I've mentioned this before, but know your stocks. This is what I find quite fun, really, and I've included a picture of an old car manufacturer, which I think is probably Ford, the production line. Now, when a company like Ford has lasted, like Toyota and other car companies, so long, it means they have real heritage, and they have been through the ups and downs, turbulent times, and the crashes. And now this is a good sign of a strong stock. But knowing your stock, really, a bit like knowing your dog, you've got to really care for it and understand it. And I think if you want to get in stocks and shares, once you sort of graduate from the ETFs, I'd say, and you want to look at stocks and shares, really know which ones they are and start to believe in them. Now, there will be a point, and some of you will want to just go a lot deeper and get into the trading and looking at the graphs and the candles and the wicks and everything like that. This isn't a course about that. And there are some other courses which are very good, but this is not about reading charts. This is not technical analysis. What does the future look like to you? Is it going to be electric? Is it going to be vegan? Are we all going to be sustainable? These are the things that I feel, and I feel that companies that are adhering to these rules are the ones that are going to grow in the future. There are some companies which I think are going to be dead in the water. You've got to look at the history. People like Kodak. Look at what happened to Blockbuster Video when Netflix came around. There is an inevitability. If you do not adapt, you will die. And that is something you see time and time again. Companies that don't innovate, I wouldn't be too interested in. There are exceptions to the rule. If you look at Coca-Cola, what innovation have they done? Very little, very little. I think that they've maybe diversified into other products, but ultimately their product, their main product, has stayed the same. So who knows? But feeling the future is about, what does the future look like? Think about Back to the Future 3. It was all hoverboards and all kinds of crazy things. It didn't turn out that we have hoverboards, right? But maybe you would have invested in a hoverboard at the time and taken a punt on it. That would have been a risky investment, and you would have lost a lot of money. But there are some things which are just inevitable, and I believe things like electric cars, virtual reality, it's just a matter of time before they just become an everyday part of our lives. Electric car, for example, could be, I think we think of it sometimes as about just us driving around, but in terms of delivery, in terms of lorries all becoming automated, is going to be such a big money saving thing. No one wants to be a lorry driver. So once this all becomes automated, you're going to have less accidents on the road, and you're going to have a much more efficient process of getting your products from A to B. So not just delivery, but you've got things like, it will even get into healthcare, security, and all these kind of things. There's so many benefits, and particularly be very aware that Uber is looking forward to becoming very, very, very automated. They do not want to have to pay drivers, and they just have to get the technology, just needs to catch up with what Uber is doing, and bam, it will become electric. And imagine what that will do to the share price. So really having a feel for the future, what you think it will look like, is a great way to look at future investment opportunities. As we've spoken about before, remember to rearrange. Ray Dalio tells us to do this. So as time goes on, maybe I wouldn't say rearrange, look at something every week or every month, but every quarter, or even most likely every year, you want to rearrange. You're going to find rearranging slightly labored when you have less money, and it's probably not even worth it. It only really gets more interesting when you're into the five figures at least. But I think that just being aware that rearranging is a very important factor that you'll have to keep an eye on when maintaining your portfolio. And finally, I'm going to say get away. And get away means get your mind somewhere which is not thinking about stocks and shares, because nowadays people are falling far too much into the world of trying to understand this and that, when really they just do not know. And if you look at the Warren Buffett idea of just letting your stocks grow over time and let your stocks even themselves out over time, then you're going to be in a really good place. The more you think about these things, the more damage you can do. So getting away, this is why there's a nice picture of a forest. Breathe easy, and just know that your money is working for you somewhere.